Okay, so this is an example of a finished outlined value map with calligraphic line. So in class, the day of this demonstration, we looked at the image, we talked about like where is it darker, where might you be able to use like a little bit of a thicker line, of course like in her eye area as well. And then in the hair I was looking for like the dark parts, and I would use a little bit of a thicker line in those parts. So for the hair, if you have just a line, you can just go over it and it's just transferred with pencil. Just go over it with Sharpie. Then in the areas where there's more shadow, I definitely add some thicker line to balance out the face. If you cannot see your value map, come see me and we'll find a way to retransfer, or you can just look at the image, and in areas where like your value map's not very visible, you could redraw it with pencil and then outline it with Sharpie. All right, so to obtain this look, your thin line, you're going to use Sharpie pen, and you're going to use the ultrafine Sharpie to go back and add calligraphic line. So you're literally just going to sit and trace on top of your value map as closely as humanly possible. And you want to make sure you're looking for enclosed shape. So I'm looking at like, where did this line go? And it looks like then it came up and met like the corner of the eye. And then there's the under eye, and so that enclosed the shape. And so that becomes like one big shape. Where you would want to add a little bit of a thicker line would be like areas of the eyes, under the nose, in the mouth, under the chin. We also talked about in class, like, okay, this side is lighter in the picture. And so therefore, and like if it's messy, it's okay. Just disregard the watercolor itself. But if you do want to clean it up, especially in the darker parts, so along this side, I'm going to try to clean up my edge of my watercolor. And if you want to use the ultrafine Sharpie the whole time, that's okay. You can save the Sharpie pen for mark making if you want to. Okay, so then if I do want it to go from thicker to thinner, I would go back and draw my double line. And you want a clean line. So we're trying to avoid sketchy lines. Turn the paper so you can see where you're tracing, and for comfort. Okay. So calligraphic line goes from thicker and fades into thinner line. And then I would go back and actually fill in as neatly as possible. And so that might help clean up some of your watercolor. So we talked about using some calligraphic line in the darker parts, especially at the bottom where there's like shadowy areas. You can use it to fix an edge, but you do want a variety of thickness when you outline your value map. Your other option is to just have it all the thin line. You don't have to use calligraphic line, but it's definitely a way to increase visual interest. I'm going to just go from thick to thinner over here. And even though my watercolor spilled out, I'm just going to disregard, act like it didn't happen. For the parts of the hair that I can actually see, well, then I'm just going to trace over what I can see. And then that line's going to become thicker. In areas where you just added some lines, like over here, I put watercolor on them, I'm going to go back and just make them into line. All right, so I will upload an image of the finished one, or here's an example of what a finished one could look like. Now, of course, we kind of talked about style a little bit early on, and so if you wanted your value map to become a little more angular, like I could turn that into a point, I could have squared that off. Or in the next practice, if you want your value map more geometric or a little bit more stylized differently, then you're going to trace it that way onto your watercolor paper. Okay, our next video after this will be adding mark making. So get it all traced out. I would definitely do that for homework. That's an easy thing to do at home. You're literally just tracing. If you have lost your value map, take a look at your image. Like here, I'd probably redraw in or definitely add in like the shadow part that I did not have. Or you can, if you can't see your value map, you can retransfer. So see me if you cannot see your value map and you want to retransfer. All right, good luck.